I'd like to call this meeting of the Coventry Town Council to order at 6 p.m. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Capaldi.
Here.
Councilmember Shockley.
Here.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Here.
President Lima.
Here, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the event of an emergency, those present this evening can exit out the doors in the back of council chambers labeled number 1 or 2 to the front lawn or back parking lot of Town Hall. Moving on to meeting minutes from prior meetings, we have this evening, May 4th, 2024, open session, May 14th, 2024, executive session, May 21st, 2024, executive session. And the clerk has asked that we continue June 20th, 2024, as those have not had a chance to be reviewed. Do I hear a motion to approve the May 4th, May 14th, and May 21st minutes as a block?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President LeBlanc.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Shockley. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua. I'm sorry. He's absent. Councilmember Capaldi.
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley.
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
4 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. Motion passes.
At this time, I'll seek a motion to approve the minutes of May 4th, May 14th, and May 21st.
Make the motion. Second.
Motion by Vice President LeBlanc, second by Councilmember Shockley. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, did you receive any edits?
Just the 2 friendly ones you gave me for the executive session. That was on May 21st.
Thank you. There's no further discussion. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Capaldi.
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley.
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
4 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. Motion passes.
And just for good measure, do I have a motion to continue the minutes of June 20th, 2024 executive session to the next council meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President LeBlanc,
Second.
second by Councilmember Shockley. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Capaldi.
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley.
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
4 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. Motion passes.
Moving on to public comment on docketed items only, those items that are on our agenda this evening. Are there any members of the public here in council chambers who would like to make a public comment on a docketed item this evening? Any members of the public on Zoom, please raise your hand to be let in if you have a public comment on a docketed item, an item on our agenda this evening. Going once, twice, 3 times. Public comment is now closed. I will now entertain a motion to open public hearing.
Make the motion.
Motion by Vice President LeBlanc,
Second.
second by Councilmember Shockley. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Capaldi.
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley.
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
4 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. Motion passes.
We have one matter before us for public hearing, a new application, mechanical and electronic devices, the Hotspot Place LLC, doing business as the Old Theater Restaurant and Lounge, 33 Sandy Bottom Road, Coventry, Rhode Island. Do we have anyone here to represent this application? Just if you could come forward and state your name and address for the record. Oh, could you just make sure the mic's on? It should flip up like a light switch. There you go.
Tammy Flippo.
And can you just talk about the application?
I need to renew my applications for my pool tables and my arcade games, which
Gotcha.
kind of let go during COVID.
Gotcha. Actually, you're all set.
Thank you.
Thanks. At this time, are there any members of the public who'd like to come forward for a public hearing on this application? Any members of the public on Zoom? Going once, twice, 3 times. Manager Parrillo, are there any comments or concerns with this license or the application?
Town has no concerns.
Madam Clerk, is the application complete?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, I will seek a motion to close public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President LeBlanc,
Second.
second by Councilmember Shockley. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
4 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
At this time, I will seek a motion to approve the application.
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Motion by Vice President LeBlanc, second by Councilmember Shockley. Any discussion? Councilmember Shockley.
If I'm not mistaken, this establishment already had pool tables and games before COVID, and I don't believe, based on all the reporting, that there's ever been an issue. So, while it's a renewal of an application, they already had this.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
4 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to licenses. New application for live show, exhibitions, and performances located at Brookdale Senior Living, 600 Center of New England Boulevard in Coventry. Do I hear a motion to approve the license?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Motion by Councilmember Shockley, second by Vice President LeBlanc. Manager Parrillo, any concerns with this application?
No concerns.
Madam Clerk, is the application complete?
Yes.
Is there anyone here to, you want to just come up and just talk a little bit about the application? Just make sure the mic's on and state your name and address for the record.
My name, are we on?
Yep.
Rachel Tucson. It's just a live concert for our residents, staff, and family and friends outside.
Anyone we know performing?
Nick Bossy. Country singer.
Country singer, okay. Any questions, discussion for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
If there's no further discussion on the application, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
4 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
At this time, I will seek a motion to take the agenda out of order.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President Blank,
Second.
second by Councilmember Shockley. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
4 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
At this time, I'll seek a motion to go into executive session for the following: discussion by council, vote, or other action pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5A2, sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation, or work sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation or potential litigation. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President Blank,
Second.
second by Councilmember Shockley. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes,
4 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
we will be right back. Cody? At this time, I will seek a motion to come out of executive session.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President LeBlanc. Second. Second by Councilmember Shockley. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
Could I have a motion to seal the minutes of executive session?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President LeBlanc.
A second.
Second by, was that Councilwoman Capaldi? Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua.
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley.
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
The council met in executive session to, for item A, discussion by council, vote or other action pursuant to Rhode Island General Law, section 42-46-5A2, sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation, or work sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation or potential litigation. A discussion was had, a vote was taken. Madam Clerk, can we just note for the record that Councilman Pasqua joined us at the beginning of the executive session? Thank you. At this time, let's see. Should we do reports or go to resolutions to get some of the staff out of here? What do you want to do? Oh, okay. Do you have a preference? No. All right, we'll go to resolutions. Item A, resolution 2024-51, vote to release guarantee known as Pine Ridge Bond. Phase 1, $181,220. Phase 2, $93,800. Phase 3, $172,780. Phase 4, $7,600. Phase 6, $89,053 for a total amount of $544,453. It is advised that Phase 5's balance of $74,000 should be retained until such time that a satisfactory solution to the outstanding drainage issue can be designed and constructed. This resolution is on pages 50 to 54 in our packet. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President LeBlanc.
Second.
Second by Councilman Pasqua. Discussion. Manager Parrillo.
So town engineer Levesque did make his inspection of the project, and that is why he's recommending the release of those 5 out of the 6 phases, with that one phase being held back until that concern can be addressed. That has passed the planning commission and is in front of the council for the release of those 5 phases.
Discussion from the council. Councilmember Shockley.
So I see that there is a portion of this, the phase 5 portion, being retained. And I also see that there was a design prepared, I believe, to fix the issue that we're retaining this money for, but I don't know that. I'm not sure if I'm correct in my assumption. Did anyone else understand it differently, or?
My knowledge is that he's working with the developer to address that concern. I don't know what stage of that addressing the concern they're at right now, but that's the reason they're holding the money back. I don't know exactly what stage of the fix they're in right now.
Further discussion from the council. Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
Resolution 2024-52 awarding a roofing bid for the annex building to Veteran Roofing in the amount of $262,100. This is on page 55 in our packets. Do I hear a motion to approve resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President LeBlanc.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Shockley. Manager Parrillo.
So originally, we were in discussions to possibly have some solar placed onto that roof at the annex in exchange for the roof being refurbished at no cost. The solar part of that project fell through. That roof still needs to be addressed. So the director went out to bid, and Veteran Roofing was the low bidder. That is the first phase in getting the annex project up and running, is to get that done next door. So that will be paid for through the $4.2 million that we have. but it's here in front of council to approve as a result of the RFP process.
Discussion from the council? Councilor Shockley?
Is there a reason why the solar fell through?
We did not feel confident in their warranty.
So it was a town decision not to move forward with the project. Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua, Councilmember Capaldi.
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President Locke,
Yes.
President Lima,
Yes.
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
Resolution C, Resolution 2024-53, proposing amendment to section 3.02 of the Coventry Home Rule Charter and directing the Secretary of State to place on the November 5th, 2024 ballot the following as a referendum question, term of office and dates. It's on pages 56 to 57 in your packets. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Vice President Blank,
I'll second it.
second by Councilmember Shockley. Discussion. Assistant Solicitor, did you want to start?
Briefly, Madam President, members of the council, if the council moves favorable with the resolution, the next step would be to prepare the final version of this question. I would give it to the Board of Canvassers, and they have to certify that question to the Secretary of State before August 7th. So the final question will look very much exactly like what you see in the resolution. I might be referencing the exact reference to the underlined language in there. So it'll come out of this resolution. Basically, my understanding is you want it to be a fixed term starting at 12 noon on second day, Monday, blah, blah, blah. So that added language will be in that. It won't be underlined. The question will not be underlined like that. It will be just one question. So I guess I would ask the council to pass the resolution in a form and certify and present the question to the Board of Canvassers in a form satisfactory to the solicitor.
Okay.
So if you could add that, so there's no confusion about ability to prepare that final question.
Is there a motion to amend based on the solicitor's recommendation?
I actually had a different amendment though. If I could at least raise it.
Yeah, sure.
It's row 45 of the resolution where
Mhm.
it says the second Monday in January. I don't know if we could add verbiage to say, I don't know, the first Monday in December, or when votes are certified, the next meeting thereafter. Something along those lines, because I don't know why. I thought the election happens in November. I thought that it usually takes the state a couple weeks, and I thought that sometime in December it is possible. I thought.
So it is possible. The reason that I was comfortable with this is because this is kind of a common practice with other city councils to start like almost so their calendar terms instead of like November to it makes it so it's like a clean calendar year. That was all. It is possible to do December. I'm fine with whatever. So there just may be a possibility that by that December date, there may not be certification. It really all there's a rare chance that it could not be all set by then. I just wanted to leave plenty of time for certification. That was my thought process.
I hear you. If they're an elected official and the votes are certified, I'd rather get them in as soon as possible rather than holding off. That's just, again, I just wanted to raise it. That's what I would.
Yeah, I totally hear you. I feel like if we do an if and or like if it's certified, then by this date, we leave again the opening where it can be construed in my view, a malicious way, where somebody can then decide when their term ends or not. I really want to be concrete with this date in December or this date in January. That would be my preference. Councilmember Capaldi had her hand up.
Why not do it the first Monday of January then?
Because that you run into the holiday. That's why I skipped a week. You run into the New Year's holiday.
Trying to get
frequently.
it closer to December.
Yeah, I hear you. Councilmember Shockley.
Um, I don't think I like the idea of not having it be so immediate. I really do think it, kind of gives the air of pushing out when sometimes it's just a much more congenial, changing over of the council members. And that's kind of how it felt at the last one, I thought. So, I do like the idea of having it be a date far enough out that the whole election is certified. We're all set. There's no question of the validity of those who are coming into office. And I think once we go past the first one, we're going to still be in the 4 years, you know? So whether it's I started the end of December or early January, I'll be in until that same time, the second Monday in January,
Yep.
when I finish my term. So I think other than this first council that will go through it, it will still be sticking with the 4-year terms that we were looking for. And I do agree that when you look at other elected officials throughout the state and the country, it does conform to this. So I think it's within the scope of what one would expect. So I mean, I'm fine with this. I also think it would be very hard to put in the officials sometime in December after everything is certified, just because of the holidays also. You know, it's just a
Yeah.
hard, wonky time of year to get people in to take care of all of the pomp and circumstance.
Vice President Blank.
Did anybody look at past elections in Coventry and when people were sworn in the last like 5-10 years? Was it usually typically December or January? I'm just curious, but again, I'm fine with whatever the consensus wants, but I just wanted to try to get the elected official in as soon as possible.
Yeah. I did not look at that. But I think the way that it was written before, was it supposed to be the sentiment that you're saying is the soonest meeting after it's certified, but we were shown 2 years ago that that could be brought up to interpretation. And this to me makes it really freaking clear of when somebody's term date starts and there's no argument. Councilman Pasqua.
And we also have to consider that, you know, there's another local body in the town that has to accept those results of the election as well. They have to meet to accept the state certification as well. So there's definitely a few steps here. I think a little bit of space is probably not a bad idea.
So what was the amendment you're looking for to the resolution, the motion?
When I read the question, the actual question that's going, that talks about a term and term date be approved, you see that language in the
Mhm.
question? I think I want to put down, which shall be, if it's the second Monday in January after the election. I think I put that in there. So somebody who's voting on the ballot knows they're not just voting for a fixed and consistent term, but a fixed and consistent term that begins on the second Monday in January.
Yeah.
I think I want to add that in there so that somebody in the voting will understands what we're doing. They know now, if you're paying attention, that the council gets elected. What is this? Right now it's the first Monday after the issuance of the certificate. Now they'll know it's the second Monday in January.
Mm-hmm.
I think I want to add that language in there with your permission.
Right. Wait, what do you want to add?
When you read the question, it talks about, shall it be a fixed and consistent term date? If that was on the ballot, I'm
No,
not so sure.
Give me a line number, please.
I'm sorry, 61. 59 to 61.
Yeah.
That's the question that would go on the ballot. And I don't think a voter is going to know that that means it's the second Monday in January, unless I put it in there.
Oh, okay.
I want it to be part of the question. Shall it be a fixed term date?
So an amendment would be, shall have a fixed and consistent term start date of the second Monday in January after the issuance of a certificate of election, comma, be approved.
Right. And then we'd explain.
Which we kind of have to make this amendment because Didn't it become a state law that we have to, or no, that's for bond questions, right? For state questions, the 8th grade reading level.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I think it just makes it clearer of what you're doing. And then there'll be an explanation line that I put in there.
Yeah.
That this is going to change it from what it is now to that.
What is there a motion on the floor to add that language to the actual ballot question?
I motion it.
Motion by Councilmember Capaldi,
We need to be very specific.
I'll second it.
second by Councilmember Shockley. Any discussion on the amendment to the question on line 61? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima,
Yes.
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
And we're back to the resolution as amended. So I just want to say, I hear you, Vice President LeBlanc. I just have PTSD and I'm very fearful. And I agree with Councilmember Shockley's sentiments that this needs to be a peaceful transfer of power, and that we can't have question of when someone's term starts, or the kind of like contingency statements of if it's approved, if it's certified by this time, then this meeting. I feel like we get into a territory where, because I remember in the 2020 election when they pushed the mail ballots hard, the certifications happened way later than normal. And I'm not saying every year is going to be like a pandemic election where so much was voted by mail, but I don't even want to get into that discussion, but that's just my fear.
Just comment on that.
Yep.
My fear would be that we have an elected official that's been certified, and then they're actually have a town council meeting where a significant vote is taken by the current council seated, where that person could have made a difference. And they are the elected official for that district. But I get it. I totally understand what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm just was trying to get them seated faster because there's a lot going on in our town. I think budgets usually are discussed around that time as well. So, or they at least start. So I just wanted to
That's fair.
throw it out there.
That's fair. Any, Councilman Pasqua?
Just a question, the exhibit that we were given here for this question, I would imagine it really doesn't matter if the language is a little bit off, because it talks about different towns. This is Warren on it. We don't have to acknowledge that this is going to say Coventry or anything on this exhibit because it's not part of the resolution specifically. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes. You're talking about the sample, you're talking
The
about
sample questions,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
I think the clerk of the Board of Canvassers did that so you would understand what the next step is, that this has to be
Okay.
created. And with that point, I just wanted to brought up, I just noticed, and I did overlook it, that you actually wanted to start at 12 noon on that day.
Mhm.
So I would add that language if you want it to be 12 noon. I mean, I think you want it to be 12 noon, it's 12 noon then.
Aren't you just taking lines 43 through 46 and adding them to the question?
What-
No, not exactly.
I don't have my lines, the lines that I was looking at was 66 and 67.
I see what you're saying though, Kim.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
Oh, I see up top.
Yes, she's
With the
talking about
better
line
meaning.
40.
Yeah, it's the same language.
Yeah.
would we need a meeting at noon?
Yes, we are.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
do you have to have a meeting at noon on that
No.
month? Okay.
That would be a time that I think comes into play when you're transferring over access to say like email accounts and stuff like that. Or, technology, whatever it might be. Can that be a friendly amendment to 61, or I didn't write down, so 61 would then be, shall have a fixed and consistent term start date to begin at 12 noon exactly on the second Monday in January after the issuance of a certificate of election, be approved.
Right, if that's what you want, yes. If that's what you want that to be the fixed moment in time, then
I'll take that as friendly.
Okay. Yeah. Unless anyone wants to do a formal motion. Okay.
Couple hours.
So just what we had added in the amendment plus 12 noon. Okay. Is there any further discussion on the resolution as amended? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua.
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi.
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley.
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
Item D, resolution or discussion by council vote or other action on resolution 2024-54, proposing added section 15.22 to the Coventry Home Rule Charter and directing the Secretary of State to place on the November 5th, 2024 ballot the following as a referendum question: biannual communications to voters by the town manager. This is pages 58 to 59 in our packets. So just to give some clarity on this before we discuss. So this was a charter question that was brought before the 2022 town council in July of that year by the Charter Review Commission. The council that sat at that time when they made individual decisions on which questions they were going to send to the voters, approved this question. When the solicitor then prepared the final sheet of all the questions as they were going to appear on the ballot to go to the council to then be sent to the local board of canvassers and Secretary of State, this question, we don't know why, was not included. So the council technically approved it to go to the ballot, but then it was not included in the final approval of the ballot language to go to the board of canvassers. So it was brought to our attention. I saw chatter online that this was done on purpose and they're trying to cause a stir, that this was whatever. So I talked to Vice President LeBlanc about this, and we wanted to bring it back to get the council's temperature on next steps with this. So with that, I'll leave it to the council. Councilwoman Capaldi.
So if it was already voted on, yes, why are we voting again? I know it didn't go on, but it was voted to go on, correct?
Yes, we were advised by legal that it should come back to the council.
Okay.
Manager Parrillo.
Can I ask why it's part of the charter and not just the direction by the council to the town manager?
Vice President LeBlanc.
I believe, I can't really speak for them, but the Charter Review Commission wanted to make it mandatory and not have it be a council decision whether or not to have it be mailed. They wanted to force the town to have to send the communication to the taxpayers on the activities of the council and the town. That's where, I mean, that's my understanding of that meeting.
If I remember correctly, there was a lengthy discussion about it being mailed, and then we told the Charter Review Commission that it costs about $15,000 even to mail the budget postcards. We did the small little ones, and then they backed off and said, well, if it was in any, they backed off on format, any form. So that was the discussion we had.
But they didn't want it to be a council decision whether or not it goes out.
Okay.
The charter review, that's why, so it's in our charter and it forces the town to actually send some type of communication on the
Okay.
activities.
So just to update, mailing's about $19,000 right now for twice a year, if we do decide to do it that way.
Yeah, no, I think the conversation at the time was leaning away from mailing. I think someone even said if it was like a newsletter that came from or was published by the town manager or something. I don't know, but there was a lot of discussion, but the originally it was mailing and then that was taken out. So Councilor Shockley.
Kind of to go to that, while I don't think we should put a budget, and I don't know if we can do this. Can we allocate funds towards it? Like if we're going to have people vote on in the town charter that they want us to send out a biannual communication, can we put a funding source behind it to say, glad to do it? You know, it might be something in the front page of the reminder that says, please go to this website. You know, it could be something small, but I think we should at least have some sort of money allocated to it. Because I think no matter what we do, simply posting it online doesn't seem sufficient.
Right.
So if we're going to say, hey, we're glad to do this, just note, we're going to have to allocate a budget line item to it of at least this much every year indexed or whatever we might choose to do.
Right. I think too, it's because it's biannual, meaning it has to go out twice a year. Do we need to mail twice a year? I don't know. Maybe one of it's mailed and the other is, I don't know. But that can be decided whether or not the question passes. But yeah.
Well, that's why I'm just saying, should there be some sort of funding source attached to it in the ballot question? To say, if we're going to do this, we have to know we're going to put aside this much money every year in order to.
Well, if we put the amount, then it immediately becomes dated because we know the cost of produce.
Well, that's why I was saying indexed, for every year that inflation goes up, we change the price of this. It
Mhm.
changes according to the economy we're in.
Councilman Pasqua.
So, I wonder if the town manager is the right person to provide that message. And I'm only saying that, not anything against you, Dan. I'm just, any future town manager, because we have interviewed managers that aren't as clear and eloquent as you are. And so we're essentially passing in a very important message about the state of the town through somebody that's not us. And that could have a major impact on how the council's viewed. So I feel like this is such a huge thing. If we're gonna make a big effort to get out to, almost 40,000 people and tell them the state of the town, essentially, it should be a PIO, it should be a designated person or a rep from the council, the council president, somebody that's sort of been vetted by the people that, people have already engaged with in a lengthy discussion. I just not sure that manager is the
I
method for
think
that.
they said manager because they're not elected and they didn't want it to be a town budget, like a town financed political leaflet thing.
So maybe I know we've talked about a PIO before, maybe something along those lines. I don't know. I just know that like people that we've looked at in the past from managers, they're just not as clear
Yeah.
about things.
I don't even know that there's room to even negotiate updating this because the council or there's a council that already approved this.
Right.
It's really ballot language that we're sending to. So I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you're wrong or right. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
I don't even know. Council Capaldi, I think that
I agree with you, Councilman Pasqua. Obviously, everyone knows that I'm the communication person, and I have been wanting something like this to happen. The only way I knew about this before it came on the agenda, I was invited to the Democratic Party meeting that they had a couple of weeks ago, and they bombarded me with this. I knew nothing about it, so they filled me in quickly. I think it's a great idea. And again, no disrespect to Dan, but you're right. We do know a lot, but if not us, maybe we could get somebody for twice a year that can, but they would have to sit with us to get the information to be able to write it.
Councilor Shockley.
So I guess right now, I almost like to go with the idea of either we want to put it on the ballot or we don't, because we're talking about what it might cost, what we might do. And it's like, we can't really make that decision right now. We're just
Yeah.
putting out there to the voters.
And
Do
this
you want
is-
us to do this? Or do you want to force us to do this? And unfortunately, it is both very specific in certain places and way too vague in others, but
And this is it, because there's a deadline of, I think it's this first week in August that the Secretary of State has to certify this to go on the ballot. So unless we all wanted to come for a special meeting just on this, just wanted to, okay, Vice President Blank is next.
So somebody who was on that actual charter review committee did submit an email. I think it went to the entire council. It did.
Yes.
And that person proposed the following. The town manager, in coordination with the town council, shall post on the official town of Coventry's government website and shall notify each Coventry eligible voter a biannual communication to enhance public engagement and knowledge sharing of the town government. These communications should be done at the end of each fiscal year to coincide with the end stages of the budget decision process and in the second quarter of the fiscal year to coordinate with the beginning of the budget decision process. The content is at the discretion of the town manager and town council, and these communications can be used to include legal notices. That was somebody who was on that charter review commission suggesting what this language should be. Just wanted to call it out. Because it's town manager in coordination with the town council, which I think was going with member
Yeah.
Pasqua's commentary. So could make that motion for that, and it's very clear, and it's also concise on when the communications are supposed to be posted. Just calling it up.
All right, yeah, I remember seeing that now. Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Vice President Blank?
I'll make the motion for to update the resolution for that language specifically.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Capaldi. Do you have all that, Joanne, or no? Okay. Any discussion on the proposed amendment?
I just didn't know if we needed to say exactly which lines it's where it's going here.
Let's see.
I think we'd start with line 25.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's a motion on the floor to amend lines 25 through 25 and 26. Yep. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion on the motion to amend?
Should we also amend the date on line 30? Because this, oh wait, I'm sorry.
Nope.
Never mind. That's correct. This is,
Everybody has this language.
No,
don't you?
this was sent to us. I remember it now. Yeah.
Okay.
That-
Does the clerk have it?
Mr. Brennan sent it to us.
I'll forward it to
And I,
And so verbatim.
yes.
Okay.
And I'll, okay.
When I prepare this for the Board of, I'm just going to use that exact language in this
Yes.
case. All right.
If there's no further discussion on the amendment, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
We're now to the resolution as amended. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the
Resolution item E 2024-55 awarding a cat mini excavator with Southworth Milton Cat in the amount of $96,900 for the Department of Public Works. This is on page 60 in our packets. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President LeBlanc.
Second.
Second by Councilman Pasqua. Manager Parrillo.
Director, want to speak to this? This is something that was appropriated in this budget. So Director McGee went out and quickly spent the money.
Before you take it away. Good evening. Since 2020, we have been operating without our second excavator, which went out of service and that at that time with a cracked frame. We've placed this in our capital budget each year, and finally this year it did get funded. Our current unit is a 2006 JCB, which is 19 years old, and it was the backup, and now it'll go back to a backup so that we can continue to do storm drainage projects and work that we do within the department. And I ask for your approval of this award.
Discussion from the council on the resolution. Councilmember Shockley.
So just to be clear, this, maybe not this exact unit, but this excavator was approved when we approved the original budget for this year. And, do you remember the amount we approved?
$96,900.
Oh,
Right to the
okay.
dollar.
So it was this
Right
exact.
to the dollar.
Okay, I was like spot on. Great. I just wanted to confirm that this is something that was already budgeted for.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Pasqua.
This is a used unit or brand new? Used, right?
This is a brand new. unit.
Brand new
Yeah,
unit. Wow,
yeah,
96,000.
with attachments.
Thumb and all that, huh?
Thumb, vibratory compactor, hammer,
Wow.
and 2 different grade, trenching bucket and a grading bucket to go along with the conventional bucket.
For 96,000?
Yes.
Does it run?
Well, no, this is was 125,000 for buying it through Sourcewell.
Yep.
We were able to save this much money.
Wow.
To get it down to where, what I anticipated it was when I priced it out for the budget it's the price stayed where we're at.
That's fantastic.
Vice President Blank.
Mr. McGee, the only question I have before we spend money on other things, trash trucks and recycle trucks, are we going to have a budget issue if we need to get a new lease for any reason? Because couldn't these funds go towards a new lease if we needed it, or not a lease, but a rental? I just want to make sure before we spend money on other equipment, because I want to take care of our trucks first.
Absolutely. I'll leave that to the town manager.
So there is I will be providing a sanitation update as to where we are, but I think because the council appropriated these funds for this equipment, I think it has to be spent in that capacity. If not, we'd have to come back to the council and get it reappropriated. So I think we can do two things at once. I'll leave it at that. I think we can satisfy the needs of the department while at the same time making sure that the sanitation equipment is up to snuff.
If I'm hearing that we're not going to have a budget shortfall and be without trucks, then I'm okay with this vote. But if I in the future hear that, hey, sorry, it's not in the budget and we're down trucks, then I just really don't think we should be spending money. That's all.
I'd just like to indicate that, as the town manager will indicate later on in his report, the 2 rental units we have now, with our fleet getting back online, we'll be able to send the rental units back under the short term and receiving the newer trucks sooner than with the 18 months. They're actually getting us, have taken the slots from somebody else because of our dire situation. We'll have 2 trucks by the end of December and a 3rd truck by February. So.
Any further discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Resolution number 2024-56 to request that the Coventry Community Septic System Loan Program with funding from the Ryland Infrastructure Bank be added to the Ryland Department of Environmental Management's project priority list. This is on page 61 in your packet. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President Blank,
Second.
second by Councilmember Shockley. Discussion, Manager Parrillo?
So Maria Broadbent put this resolution together. This is part of the new community septic program that we upgraded and reestablished last meeting or 2 meetings ago. So it's through RIB, and one of the requirements is that it be on the DEM project priority list. So she put this together, submitted it, and this is in front of you for approval.
Do we have a plan ready of how we'll kind of publicize this? Well, we've already had this
We've already
program.
had some phone calls on this
Okay.
program, so the word's getting out there already.
Okay. Any discussion from the council? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
Moving on to report of the town manager, Daniel Parrillo.
So just want to provide an update on Briar Point. Rain is here, the chief is here. So basically the council received some emails over the last couple of weeks continuing regarding the issues at Briar Point. One of the concerns was that the town decided not to staff it, and that is not true. We actually put an RFP out in April, asking for a contractor to come in and run the beach for us. And all that's included in that: parking, lifeguards, rentals. That was all included in the RFP. No one responded back to that RFP. So it's not true that we did not try to at least have that staffed. We have 12 to 14 garbage bins there. We've added those. We've improved on the lighting there. Police are doing their part by closing the beach at 7 o'clock with all cars, and then making a final pass after that to make sure no one's still there. We got one email from a resident who said it is getting better. So hopefully that continues. The part-time person we did hire quit before he started. So we just hired someone else that he's going to start Monday. So like I said before, he's going to be closing at night and then opening and closing on weekends. That's going to be his primary role. So police are there constantly. We're living up to what we said about clearing it out, trying to keep the music down. something's out of our control. I know we got pictures sent to us of someone dropped a dirty diaper in the parking lot. There's not a lot the town can do about that, but we go there and clean it up. So we're addressing it the best we can with the resources we have currently. That's kind of the update on Briar Point.
Chief, I don't know if you wanted to provide some comments on this. I know that the patrol of that has been subject of some public comment.
So what I did was I gathered the last 2 weeks worth of call screens we've had there. Give you a brief synopsis of what those are. So we had 45 call screens over the last 2 weeks. 5 of the call screens were for complaints of loud music. When officers went there, the patrons turned down the music, no issues. We had 12 call screens for officers clearing out the parking lot. No issues were reported during those. We had 25 call screens for officers checking on the beach. No issues were found. We had 1 call screen for complaint of loud subject and possible marijuana use. The area was negative for that subject. We had 1 call screen for motor vehicle accident in the parking lot. And we had 1 call screen for person cited for possession of alcohol on the beach.
Councilman Shockley.
So I received multiple emails, and I think I might have just made an assumption that most of these issues were based on after hours problems. So after the beach had closed, after noise is a problem, things like that. So I just want to verify, what time of day did you get most of these calls? Because I don't want to assume.
I have the call streets here. I can get the times, but most of these were, like I said, 37 of them, at least right here, were officer initiated. There's 5 call screens that were loud music. 2 of them were in the beginning of 2 weeks.
What does officer initiated mean?
They pulled the call screens, or the police department pulled it for them to check on it.
It's like proactive patrolling. They're going there without being called. They're going there and checking the
Oh,
parking
okay.
lot, checking the area, just being
37
proactive.
37 of the 45 officer initiated or department initiated.
Okay,
the-
so
and
you
the
guys are going down, you're patrolling the beach during the day, at night, kind of. I guess I just want a better understanding. If it were my home and I lived near a beach and the beach was open till 7, there'd be an expectation of people, traffic, some noise, within reason. In the evenings, when the beach is closed, I would have an expectation that I could quietly enjoy my home. So I just want to make sure that we're kind of differentiating there with what we expect to occur at a beach during the day and, the fact that the beach is in a neighborhood late at night.
So the officers are checking it during the day as well as at night. And what they're finding is most of the people are complying with what they're supposed to be doing on the beaches. We've been checking for any violations and things like that, and they're complying.
And the music's happening in the afternoons and at night. Obviously, the weekend is the busiest time, but I go by there during the day, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's 5 or 6 cars there. There's not that much activity. Obviously, I think it's after dinner, people are gathering there, and then obviously the weekends when the weather is the nicest, and that you're getting the 60, 70 cars in there. And I know one of the emails said something like the Coventry police checked 90 cars in the parking lot and none of them were for Coventry. That's definitely not accurate because we don't have the ability to run plates randomly. So we did not do that. So I don't know where that information came from.
Yes, I was going to bring up the 96 cars. That was not true.
As far as I know, it is not true.
I know there's been complaints. I
It may
know
be-
there's been complaints about, it's really tight in there. One ways. Have you ever had that? Like a fire truck or a police car couldn't go down these streets if something happened? Because as I've been told, there's a lot of cars down there.
Just to go back to what you asked, you were asking if an officer is running all the plates and giving the
Oh,
information.
I didn't know. I don't know. I didn't even see
Okay,
that.
just,
Oh, yeah, no.
I just want to know if there was 96 cars.
Could there
down
be? Yes, I'm sure there could be that many cars there. We don't have anyone there during the day regulating parking.
So no one went down there if there wasn't a complaint about the cars?
If we have a complaint of where cars are parked, we'll go investigate it and we'll take action on it. But if there's no complaint as far as the cars, we're not gonna, if they're parked legally, then we're not gonna, it doesn't matter how many cars are in there if they're legally parked.
Has there been a complaint about any of the cars double parking on these streets where cop cars or an emergency vehicle could not go down?
In the call screens I looked at, there was nothing in regards to parking at all.
Not on these call screens in the time that Briar Point has been an issue?
I went back to.
I'm sure there have been that the police weren't called on. I'm sure there have been, yes. And there are some no parking signs in the area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've been to Briar Point. I don't know if there's actually 90 parking spots. So do we have a max capacity posted anywhere for how many people can be there?
Raina, any idea on that?
Can you just come forward so we can hear?
I have it in an email from Chief Brown, and so far it doesn't seem that we've reached that capacity.
But what is the number?
I don't remember offhand. I think it was approximately 130 cars or a little over 220 people.
Wow.
But I can
Seems
confirm
like
that
quite a
email
lot.
and send it to the town manager.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. And then town manager, you had mentioned that when it comes to trash, the town can pick it up. Do we have a set schedule of when we send DPW to Briar Point?
So Parks and Rec maintains that area. Normally we would do it Mondays and Wednesdays, but because it's not fully staffed all the time, we actually increased trash pickup to Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. I've also have people on the weekends until that person starts on Monday who will work 7 days a week and clean the trash up. They work every weekend to clean up at night, so to make it clean for the next day.
All right. And then who's responsible for closing the gate?
So that would be, so we have an automatic gate that closes. The issue is the way the gate is set up. If someone's already inside the gate, they can open it and let other people in, and that seems to be the issue.
Can we change that?
So that's why we need that person to start on Monday, and
Okay.
then they can physically lock it to help,
Fantastic.
so the residents don't hear that noise in
Perfect.
the evening. or
Appreciate that.
Early in.
And then my only other question that I have, is there a plan to charge non-residents in the future here?
So,
We have not discussed that yet. The plan right now is to go out to RFB again to see if we can get a company to come in and manage the facility. If the council wants to try to make money on that proposition, we can look into that. But my thought process was let them run it, let them.
How is this contractor gonna make its money on concessions or beach fees, like charging people to come in?
I would say beach fees, rentals, if they wanted to rent
So they're gonna
kayaks,
charge.
they're gonna do that. Yeah. I think the important part for us is to make it accessible without it costing the town any money. So if someone can come in there and run the operation, make it accessible, do all the patrolling of the litter and the cars and all that, without having to utilize town resources, I think that's a win-win.
And Raina, correct me if I'm wrong, you used to have staff
so
here in your budget, but it got cut at some point?
So, before COVID in 2020 hit, we have to start preparing the beach and hiring lifeguards, beach managers in January. So that was all set, but when unfortunately COVID hit in 2020, our budget was cut by a third.
Mhm.
And over time, it was not put back into the budget for final approval.
Got it.
So then the town manager, I discussed maybe this possible idea moving forward because it is quite substantial. I just put some numbers together, and in 2025, if we were to run the beach again and put lifeguards in place, that would approximately be about $45,000 to $55,000. And typically we would get between $15,000 to $20,000 back in fees. And we charge what the state charges because we have lifeguards, because our facilities are open. So either we would have it staffed or we'd work, as the town manager said, with the company to staff it, because I do believe it needs to be staffed.
Got it. No, I appreciate all the
Yeah.
information. Thank you.
Council Capaldi.
I think it's a great idea to have charge something, whether it's the vendor that's going to be running it or us or whoever, because I think that keeps some of the riffraff out. Thank you. It does. Anywhere you can go, if you charge a fee, it keeps riffraff out.
I just, the clapping here, I want to emphasize, like, we agree. The town put out an IFB. We want it staffed. So I know there was a notion put out via email that the town has neglected this and doesn't want to staff it, but that couldn't be further from the truth. And that's part of the point that's trying to be made this evening.
And I agree with you on that, because the last time we were here talking about it, we brainstormed on a whole bunch of ideas, and now some of them are coming to fruition. They can't all happen at once. So yeah.
Councilman Pasqua.
I just think we also should really look at a fee schedule in the near future for, especially for non-residents, because the communications that I'm getting are that residents of Coventry are kind of either being kind of pushed out or intimidated, don't want to go down there because of people outside of the town. I mean, it is something that we have in our town for our residents.
Councilman, there's no proof of that. We don't know who's utilizing the beach. We don't ask for IDs.
Right.
We don't ask where you live to use the beach. It's a public space. We don't have the ability to decide who can and cannot use it right now. It's open and free to everybody.
Someone who doesn't
Well, I mean, back when I was a lot younger, we used to have to show our ID
Oh, yeah.
to be able to use it. So that's what I mean. I mean, there's got to be some type of, I mean, it's easy to figure out if they live here.
Oh, yeah, we
Driver's
could
license say.
definitely implement that once we have the staffing, but right now,
Yeah,
with it
right.
being free and open, we don't
I-
have anyone to regulate it.
Right. I'm not saying we do this tomorrow. I'm saying in the near future, we should probably really consider some type of system. Whereas if you're an outside resident outside of Rhode Island, just like the state chart is more for fishing licenses for people who are non-residents. No difference. You want to use a Coventry recreational facility, fine. Here's the fee.
We had something like that, as I said, in 2020 before COVID hit for the past few years. So there was always a discounted rate for residents and for veterans, military, active military, and then for seniors or the elder population, and then non-residents was a different fee altogether. And there was group rates, again, very similar to the state system.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
I'm sure that could be built into the request, the invitation for bid.
Absolutely.
Council Member Shockley.
So just as far as short-term things we can do to just make sure we're maintaining and keeping up with things of the beach. If this person who we've hired doesn't last very long, hopefully more than a day, but is there a way we as a town can make sure that that gate is locked every night? Because if that's a way of maintaining the space and making sure that no one's going and using the parking lot. And just one secondary question, if we could make sure, it sounds like we need to RFP for this probably by October or November.
I was thinking actually on time after I spoke, we want to get it out in September. That way we
Okay.
know for budget season what we need to do. So I need to know in December what's going to happen in the future budget.
Yep.
So, so we discussed that as well. So we need to get that right away out to the public. And if the person doesn't work out for whatever reason or things happen, I would use my maintenance staff. So in the morning, during the week, we can open it. However, in the evening, I would have to use my maintenance with overtime until we can find another part-time person.
I think if we were planning on paying someone else to do it and this is just an
Yeah.
if, this person might last the rest of the summer and we're all set. I'm just saying if something were to happen, can we just make sure that we're paying someone to lock it every night?
I'm also looking at backups just in case. So I actually just put a notice out again, just to have some, in case someone gets sick or anything else. I want to make sure the beach opens and closes at a certain time to help residents.
Excuse me. There'll be public comment period. Excuse me, there'll be a public comment period. Please do not call out. Please do not, sir, please do not call out. Manager Parrillo. Are there any further discussion from the council on this item? Thank you. Manager Parrillo, did you want to return to your report?
Sure. So we talked about sanitation briefly. The 3 new trucks, like Kevin said, they're coming 2 in December, 1 in February. we have caught up with trash and recycling. I did have the director focus on yard waste. That was a big issue over the last week and a half. So we had some of his road and bridges people divert their normal duties to yard waste. So that's all caught up right now. We're currently only down 2 trucks, which is good. Hope to get up and running to the point where we can return those 2 rentals, but we're definitely in a better position now than we have been in recent time.
So, where would we say we stand on yard waste? Are we
It should be caught up.
all caught up?
Yes.
Any discussion on sanitation from the council? Vice President Blank?
Just only because you said, so we're down 2 trucks
Correct.
currently?
Yes.
And we have rentals in place of those trucks? Is that what you're
We
saying?
have 2 rentals right now still. The goal is to,
So are we at full fleet capacity or are we at full fleet less the 2 trucks?
exactly. We're at full capacity with the 2 rentals.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Okay,
The upcoming recreation events, Friday evenings, we still have the free summer concert series going on until August 23rd. National Night Out, it's going to be Tuesday, August 6th, 5:30 to 7:30 at the Annex. Raina and PD are doing a great job putting that together. Be bigger and better than last year. She's also having free flying high dog shows kids event Saturday, August 17th, 4 o'clock in front of Town Hall. And we're having a Grandparents' Day celebration on Saturday, September 7th at the Town Hall Annex from 11 to 2. There'll be craft vendors and food trucks. So if you need more information, just go to the Parks and Recreation website.
okay.
Renovation to council chambers. So the painting's already been done. As you can see, we did get some pricing in order to replace the floor, the countertop, and all of the AV equipment. The estimate right now is approximately $100,000. 65 of that is the AV. Cody's been working with a couple of different vendors to get prices for new cameras, new microphones, a whole new AV setup, new electrical. I know it's something that we have discussed. It could come out of capital. There is money in capital. It could also come out of opera. But I think it'd be a good opportunity to do it now. Obviously, with the new council coming aboard, seven members instead of 5 to get this really upgraded to the point where it will last another 20 years. So I don't know how much discussion you want to have on that, but we do have some prices for millwork. Like I said, new countertop, new podium, new microphones, new cameras, and new AV equipment.
So I don't know if you want to, now that you've broached the topic, maybe send some of the information we've received to the council to review, and then they have something to base it on for future discussion.
Sure, I can do that.
Councilmember Shockley.
And in the meantime, if we haven't already, look into any sort of grant funding that might be available for, if not the whole project, maybe the AV equipment, or I know we do have someone on retainer now to assist us with those sorts of things. And it seems like this type of project might fall into a specific grant.
I can ask her.
Okay.
And lastly, update on the cone paving center in New England. I did speak to Mike DeAmbra, who's in charge of that project. He said things are going very well. They're on schedule to be complete by the end of August. They're working nights, some weekends, some daytimes. It varies. I asked them to kind of keep in touch with us, let us know if there's any issues or concerns that we can assist with. But basically, as we know, it's a private enterprise through the receivership that's doing the work. And he said like I said, they're on schedule and hoping to be done by the end of August.
Vice President Blank.
Only because I've seen a lot of chatter about this. Can you confirm that the town of Coventry is not cutting a check associated with this paving?
We are not cutting a check associated with this paving.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to report of other town officers and officials. Finance Director, you're up.
Good evening. Just a couple items. First, the audits. I know you wanted an update on the audit, so we had a meeting with the Auditor General and the auditors on Monday, yesterday, today's Tuesday. Yesterday, the auditors are in the final stages to get the 22 issued. We need one communication from the solicitor, and then also just the final reports from the state. So they're working on reconciling the MTP reports, so we're hoping to have that done as soon as the solicitor returns back from his vacation. The 23 audit, both the school department and the town has an open items list that they've asked if we can get that information to them by the end of next week. They'll work to try to get, their final stages completed in hopes that we'd have the draft of the 23 mid-August. And then 24, we're currently went out to bid for the 24. We received 2 proposals, so we're in the process of reviewing those proposals to select the audit firm. So as soon as that's completed, we'll report back to the council. In your packet, you did have a balance sheet and then a budget versus actual for fiscal 2000.
1 second,
I'm
just a
sorry.
question.
The question on the audit timeline. So for FY22, do we have a deadline date that we've set with the auditors and the Auditor General of when it's actually going to get issued?
We don't have a specific deadline date. Our next meeting scheduled for third week or so in August. We expect to have it well before then, but a lot of it depending on getting the final MTP report finalized, approved by the state, which I'm hoping it's this week. And then it's just the letter from the solicitor's office. And obviously, if there's anything in there that the auditors would have to follow up, but to my knowledge, there's not going to be anything in the legal letter that would require additional work. So the auditors have finished their internal review, their quality check, so they're ready to go. It's just a matter of getting those last couple documents.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. So again, in your packet, you have a budget versus actual for fiscal 24. You'll see the notation on it that, the fiscal year is still open. Our intent is to close fiscal 24 beginning of August. So by the second week of August, make sure all the requisitions from the various departments are in there so that we can close out the records. We do have the ability to recognize tax revenue through August 31st. So that time period, we still could have some changes. But I think this is a close estimate on where we think we're going to finish for the fiscal year. Will there be some slight changes? I imagine so. So unless there's any departments that are withholding some invoices for last fiscal year or significant invoices, we should be in this ballpark. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of the items, but you have, the detail of the breakdown of the information. But just overall actual revenues exceeded expenditures by roughly 1.7 million. So we're projecting a net income for fiscal 24 of 1.7 million. That was comprised of favorable revenue variances of approximately 1.4 million. A couple of the most significant, treasurer's office budget, positive variance of 642,000. And that's mainly attributable to the interest rates we were able to receive. Obviously, interest rates have been great this past fiscal year. They're still somewhat high. So we tried to maximize the rate of return that we were getting on the investments. And as you may recall, during fiscal 24, this council approved that any excess investment income up to a certain threshold could go into the revolving fund. That would not take place until fiscal 25. So had that been set previously, we could take some of the money, but again, hopefully we can see some positive variance there and put some money in fiscal 25 into the revolving fund. The tax assessor and tax collector's account had a positive variance of approximately 560,000. And a lot there was somewhat conservative estimates last year where we had the statistical revaluation. We thought there would be many more abatements than what we actually had to process. So again, strong collection efforts coupled with the less than expected abatements showed the positive results there. On the expense side, we had positive variance, net positive variance. Budgeted expenditures of approximately 335,000. So although we had excess revenue, the town still complied with the budget that was provided by spending less than what was approved in the council ordinance or council resolution on the budget. Couple items to point out. I know throughout the year, we kept talking about the police department and the significant cost overruns in overtime. But as you can see, police department actually finished with a positive variance of approximately 21,000. So although they had much more in overtime costs, they had savings in other budget line items, including obviously some salaries from vacant positions. So, you know, I thank the chief. The chief and his staff, constantly staying on top of that. They really have their budget down pat and they know right where they stand. So, DPW division, there was a negative variance or budget over expenditures of 178,000. We talked about sanitation all year. So the negative variance there or the overspending, sanitation, truck repairs, and also the truck rentals. So we had to rent a sanitation truck that wasn't budgeted for. That cost some overruns. Just one other item to point out, human services. We're showing a negative variance of 83,000. I did meet with the director. We have to do some reallocation of some of the costs to some of his other programs. So like Project Friends, there were some payroll related costs that weren't properly allocated. So we're moving those costs over to the other funds. We still expect a deficit in human services, not nearly that amount, but they had 3 individuals that retired that weren't anticipated retiring. We had to pay out their severance payout for their bust out pay. So that pushed them into the negative. The town solicitor's account, obviously you see the negative variance there. I do have a little notation because at this point we haven't reallocated 50,000 of the cost to the ARPA funding. I know that was approved an ARPA cost in the previous year, but I think that's a discussion we should have with some of the projects that the council's still looking at. Do we just leave the 50,000 within the operating fund? Obviously, we're showing a surplus for the year and try to reallocate that 50,000 to some of the other costs that the council's contemplating. So that's it. If you have any questions.
Councilor Shockley.
Thank you for this synopsis at the end. It's really helpful. So first, you had put that the positive variance, actual revenues, the 1.7's net. So the fact that we had a positive variance in our expenditures, that's already considered up here, right? In the 1.7 million?
Right. The 1.7 is a total.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
made up of 1.4 in
Okay.
positive revenue, 300,000 in positive expenses.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I was correct on that.
Yep.
And looking at a couple of these positive variances, which are great, they don't necessarily seem sustainable. Possibly I'm wrong, but I definitely want to make sure, like with treasurer's office being $640,000, in a positive direction, I think it's great. Just want to be careful how we
Correct.
allow for it moving forward. And with inspections and permits, I don't know exactly what that's attributable to. Is it building more affordable housing? Is it housing developments going in? Is it people making improvements to the homes they already live in? So kind of knowing where that money comes from, I think could be a really important thing when trying to determine next year what we should expect. The police, even with a $100,000 positive variance, is that something that we should expect as far as allocating better what we should expect the police to be bringing in for revenue? So just speaking to things like that and making sure that we're allocating correctly. I agree with you with the 50,000. If we're experiencing a positive net revenue, I'd rather allocate that $50,000 elsewhere. And I also want to know, as far as the 1.7, you said what we can't do with it because we can't put it into a revolving fund this year. What can we do with it?
That just falls into your fund balance.
It's just
So
gonna be
that's
part of our fund
your
balance
Fund
now?
balance reserves. It's council's obviously ability to reallocate fund balance. You can either use it for one-time projects would be my recommendation. I really don't like taking fund balance and using it to balance your budget because then the following year
Nope, I
you
agree.
have a shortfall.
I agree. I just want to make sure that we have the options, that we know the options available in a year where we do have more of a surplus than I would expect in the future. And if the best thing is to just keep it as part of our general fund, then and put ourselves at a better percentage for bonding and things like that, I find that to be a positive too.
Vice President LeBlanc.
It's always great to have revenues exceed expenditures. The 1.7, as Member Shockley was just talking about, and she asked what we could do with it. Question for you, the last issued financial statements goes all the way back to June 30th of 2021. On page 37 of the financial statements, there's 29 fund deficits that total $1.2 million. So what is your plan to attack those fund deficits?
We're looking in the fiscal 23 audit, we're going to be looking to close out all the funds that have deficits, at least the funds that are related to the town side. You know, the school, we've recommended they do the same thing so that it's part of the general fund. So obviously, if you've had funds that had deficits for years, I think some of the ones you're looking at go back probably to the, you know,
They do.
2015, 2017, that go back quite a ways.
They
We
actually go
shouldn't
back
be
to 12.
carrying that deficit.
Yeah. Oh, I 100% agree,
So
which is why I'm
I'm
raising
looking to close them out as part of the 23 audit.
part of the 23 audit.
Yeah, we
Okay.
did have that discussion with the Auditor General during the call the other day that we're in the middle of proposing those entries. We'd obviously like the council to approve that as well. We talked about it back when, I think when CLA did the presentation on the 22 audit, but just because of the timing of that, we figured we'd do it in fiscal 23. And the school department's supposed to be putting their entries together as well to propose those to CLA. So it's effective as of June 30th, 23. You'd see where we actually stand in getting all those deficits out of the way.
Music to my ears. I just didn't want to do more spending when we have these deficits. So thank you.
Any further discussion for the finance director? All right, thank you.
Just one thing I want to bring up too, is talking about opera. The council's gonna have to have a discussion very soon as to what we want to do with our remaining opera funds. So it has to be appropriated by December of this year. So it's ballpark a little over $1 million left. So whether we're going to appropriate it to Johnson's Pond or whatever projects we want to kind of designate it to, that discussion needs to happen over the next couple of months so we know what direction to go in.
Mr. Igliozzi, I think you've got one item really to discuss.
Yeah, Madam President, Council, I think only item 3 is the remaining item. 1 and 2 we dealt with on the resolution that were presented. So item 3 is just a request by the city solicitor's office to have the council transfer $35,000 from the contingency account to the solicitor's account for the specific purpose to engage the services of experts and consultants as needed for litigation. This is not this is a line item for experts that doesn't exist right now.
Is there a motion to authorize the transfer funds?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by
To
Vice
the
President LeBlanc.
town's solicitor account.
Yeah, David's used to city.
I apologize.
Just clarifying.
City man. We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Pasqua. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Yes.
President Lima.
Yes.
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
And now Planning Director, Mr. McLean.
Good evening. I'll give a very brief overview, and I know you have a summary memo in your packet. We're asking for the council to consider a motion to designate 2 particular consulting firms as on-call peer review consultants that would serve on behalf of the town. These would be in the instances where in the review of a development project, the town feels as though it is warranted to ask for a peer review, either to bring in certain services or skill sets that we don't have as a town, or there may even be a capacity issue where there's such a breadth of work that we aren't able to conduct the proper levels of review. So the conditions on the work would be, 1, that it's warranted. The other condition would be that all of the costs of any peer review services would be paid by a private applicant or property owner. So what we're asking for is essentially the designation for 2 firms that we've solicited qualifications packages for. They've given us their qualifications package. We've reviewed it. We find them to be strong firms that offer the kind of skills, the variety of services we need. We went into it thinking that we wanted to identify at least one on-call consultant. After reviewing the packages and discussing this a bit with other staff, there's no downside to having them both accepted, having the flexibility and redundancy for any given project if we see there being a fit with one or the other, or more likely if we need something turned around quickly and one firm can't do it in that given month or another firm can. Gives us the ability. Again, this would be a no funding obligation on behalf of the town, and I think it strengthens our development review process. So open for any questions.
Discussion from the council. Do I hear a motion to authorize engagement of the services?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Vice President Blank.
Second.
Second by Councilman Pascal. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua.
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi.
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley.
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc. President Lima.
Yes,
5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. Motion passes.
thank you. And now we'll move to public comment for undocketed items. Folks can come forward and give a public comment on undocketed items. Come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. My hand's been up for like 45 minutes. Members of the public on Zoom, public comment on undocketed items. Unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record.
Name is Lisa Narkowitz, 21 Beach Street. I resent the comments about Sunday. To the best of my knowledge, none of you were there on Sunday, nor was the police chief, nor was Raina Blumenthal, nor was the town manager. I was there and I counted the cars and there were 97 cars. So if you want to not trust the people who are giving you information, that's a real problem. There's also problems. I have a problem with why hasn't the police chief talked about the fact that on July 4th or Juneteenth, there was one squad car who would not go in the park until they called back for 4 more. Why has that never been discussed? Can anyone answer any of these questions for me? Just gone silent? Hello?
I think I'd just like to point out for the record that we didn't state the cars weren't there. We stated we didn't know where they were from.
Yes. No
No,
one
you
disputed
stated that you
that
didn't
there
think-
weren't 90. I didn't speak while you were speaking. No one stated that there weren't 96 cars there. The dispute was that someone counted those cars and said none of them were from Coventry when no one.
No one said that tonight, Hillary. That was
That's
a
what it
different
said.
night.
That's what it said in the email communication.
It did not say that. You're wrong. You're wrong. I have the email in front of me. The email said there were 97 cars there Sunday afternoon. And if any one of you thinks that's a good idea, you should show up some Sunday afternoon at Briar Point because it's not pretty.
It says
It is
90% of the cars are not from Coventry residents.
Excuse me?
The email says 90% of the cars are not Coventry residents.
It did not say that out of the 97 cars, 90% were not Coventry,
Reading
does
the
it?
email verbatim, are you not?
Go ahead. The one that I sent yesterday?
No, the prior one.
Oh, okay. So I'm talking about Sunday, which was 2 days ago. There were 97 cars in there, which equates.
I'm not saying there weren't.
Well, there seemed to be some question about that when we were talking with the police chief.
Well, that's why we
Whether
asked
that
Raina.
was
We asked Raina what the capacity was, and the capacity is over 100.
That's baloney. I want to see that.
Okay.
She didn't know that. She thought it perhaps was.
Okay, but the police are still going there. They're enforcing what they're observing. They're
Do you
going there.
know how many times we have to call the police? It is ridiculous.
No, well, most of the
I
calls are.
can't even have a 4th of July picnic in my own yard and speak to my own guests because the music is so loud. I have to call the police 3 times in the afternoon of one afternoon. If any one of you would join me on a Sunday afternoon on a nice day, it would be great, because your eyes would be opened. You have no idea what goes on over there.
So I think we're all in agreement that we want to solve the issue. We're getting all the emails. The problem is clear. People are upset with what's going on. We've been talking about this for a while and trying to
We've been
initiate
talking
things
about
in-
this for 5 years.
Excuse me, he's speaking. Please don't interrupt.
We've made a valid effort to solve this issue by putting an RFP out there. We've hired people who have quit. We finally got somebody starting on Monday. But as far as the capacity goes, it's a enclosed area. So that capacity has to do with the fire department. And there's an actual calculation on how many people can be in that area, vehicles, personnel, whatever, because of the established egress points. So I know that you may think that it's quite a bit of people that can be in there, but it's really a fire marshal, state law, math calculation on how that's all figured out. So the Central Coventry Fire District would be the people to ask as far as capacity goes, but it's not subjective. It's something it's a math calculation.
Well, why don't we know what the answer is?
Because this isn't the Central Coventry Fire District. If you call them,
We
they'll be
have the
happy to tell you.
we have the director of Parks and Rec. We have the police chief. We have the town manager.
Right, and
Why
that's a
doesn't
fire
somebody
department.
know that answer?
That's a fire department calculation. It's a total different scope of practice than what they do. It's a total different animal. That's why it's an easy phone call. Just give the fire marshal's office at Central Coventry a call tomorrow and they'll tell you.
I will do that. Don't you worry. Because if you're going to tell me that you think it's a smart idea for there to be 200 people in that park, you need to go see with your own eyes what that looks like. Because it's a mess.
The point of Councilman Pascua's remarks was the fact that it's
I
not about an
understand
opinion.
exactly
It's-
what they are, Hillary. You don't need to tell me. We have been going through this for 5 years. And we get the same blah, blah, blah every summer. It's now almost August. And this is just another summer chalked up to a lot of baloney and wasted tax money at Briar Point. The 5th summer that we have to put up with this nonsense over there. And it is nonsense. And whoever said they cannot check the license plates that are there, you need to double check your facts. I have been there with police officers who do it. Can anyone explain to me why the police chief doesn't know why there are not certain things on the call screens? As I alluded to in my email yesterday?
All the calls that go into CPD are on the call screens. They don't pick and choose what they want to enter. The dispatcher enters.
Not
call
all the
as they
goings
come
on
in.
have been put on call screens, Dan.
Okay.
Why is that?
I don't know, Lisa.
Because it seems as if it's selective information that's going on call screens.
What's the? I don't understand why it would be selective.
Well, you
If a
explain to
call-
me
if a
why
call
it's
come
not
in-
on
if
a
a
call
call comes
screen.
in, they dispatch a car. It has to go through the ICM service.
So the
That's
fact
how
that,
the cars are
the fact
dispatched.
that on Juneteenth, they had a squad car there and who called for an additional 4 cars, but it doesn't show on any call screen. Why is that?
I don't know, but I'm not sure how that's relevant to loud noise.
Oh, it's very relevant. Trust me. Because the Coventry police would not go into Briar Point on Juneteenth. The single person wouldn't go in by himself until he got backup. So you can imagine what the atmosphere is there.
Okay.
Why don't one of you go over there on a Sunday afternoon and see what it's like? I'd be happy to accompany you. You'll see what it's like. You'll see that the Coventry police have now finally arrested somebody for drinking. There's been a municipal court summons issued. But again, 5th summer in a row. You talk about RFPs, you talk about hiring, blah, blah. It's August. This is another summer down the tubes for us. Another summer of having to listen to this nonsense over there. It's disgusting, and it's a waste of the taxpayers' money. If the taxpayers in this town knew how their money was being spent over there, they would not be happy. And I think it's about time they start to hear it from the source, from someone who's actually over there and knows what's going on, as opposed to who's relying on call screens that aren't accurate, that have missing information for whatever reason.
Okay. Yep, we have another hand up. Please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Diane Cowell, Kowal. I live at 97 Mohawk Street in Coventry. I'm blessed that I live on the other side of the lake and to the north of it. So although occasionally I hear the noise, I don't hear it to the extent that people live immediately next to it do. However, this past 2 Sundays ago, not a couple of days ago, but a week ago, my husband and I were doing volunteering for Save the Bay, and we were putting labels on the catch basin so people don't dump their pollution into our lake. And so we were all over the roads on this side of the lake. And as we were walking, we were talking to different neighbors. And on the new section of East Shore Drive, we were specifically on Hillcrest cul-de-sac. The music was so loud, it was crazy how loud it was over there. And one of the new neighbors asked us if we knew what was going on at the school. They thought that the school was having an event because the music was that loud. And when I told them that the music was actually coming from the other side of the lake where the beach was, they were kind of dumbfounded, like, how is that possible? And it was, you know, like I said, I'm blessed. I just live downwind of upwind of the music because, you know, just down the road from my house a little bit on the east side, it was extremely loud too. My biggest concern, however, though, is safety and potential litigation for the town with that beach being opened at all. There were no ropes up. I have a boat and I kayak and have witnessed people swimming way out of where they should be with little regard to safety. The markings went up this past week, which I was very glad to see. But when I went by on my boat this weekend and a day or two before that, there were a number of people who swim outside of the borders and don't even pay attention to them, including children. You know, so it's great you put them up, but now people are just still disregarding them and swimming on the other side. So I just have a big safety concern about things that are happening over there. And I guess my biggest concern is, why is the gate even unlocked? Why isn't everything just closed until we can get it solved? We keep talking about solving it, but nothing's happening. And I just think it's a major accident waiting to happen.
Thank you. Yes, Vice President Blake.
I just have a question. It's kind of directed to the chief, so I don't know if we can have him speak on it, but in reviewing our charter, I had noticed that there is a section 180-1 says disturbing the peace. And it says, you know, every person committing any nuisance or mischief. It kind of goes on, but it says shall be guilty of an offense. And we keep on hearing this really loud music. And it's obviously annoying the neighbors who live by the beach. At what level does it cause some type of offense when it's really disturbing the peace and getting neighbors upset? I just would love some clarification on that.
Most of this stuff is covered in the noise ordinance that we have, which kind of needs some work on it. As far as disturb the peace, that's usually like you're fighting tumultuous behavior, you're doing something like that. It's not generally noise related, or like listeria. So at least that's the way I understand it.
You mentioned our noise ordinance could use a little help. Do you have any suggestions that you could share with the council so that we could act on that? And you don't have to share it right now. I'm just saying, I would, if you have some recommendations, I would love it. And I think we should discuss
Come up
it.
with some.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Last call, public comment on undocketed items.
Hi, my name is Jason Nunes. I live at Fairview Road. I'm a lakefront taxpayer. I'm literally 150, 200 yards in Tiffany Cove from Briar Point. On a Sunday, I can't sit on my back deck without listening to loud Hispanic music. I love music. I've seen venues get shut down being over 65 decibel levels. That music is off the charts. That to me is a disturbance of the peace. Never mind other violations. I have a pontoon boat. If I go by Briar Point, there's a sandbar right in the middle of the lake. So you have to be to the starboard or the port side of it. I have to always go to the port side because even when the ropes were up, they're swimming beyond the ropes. And God forbid I want to hurt somebody. Lifeguards, rangers, there needs to be some ordinance there. There has to be some kind of order. Disturbing the peace, whatever you're going to call it, you have to have some type of order there. And it's not being maintained. And you guys can see it, but you don't see it firsthand because you don't go down there.
Yes.
I'll go down there.
Go out on a Sunday when it's not raining.
That's fine. But also, why don't I see any video? I've never seen video. I mean, if we can't physically be there, you guys are the ears and the eyes over there because you live there.
I can show you a video of people swimming beyond the ropes.
I want to see the noise or hear the noise.
Gauge the noise from a video.
Well, I'm sure there's people. You got it?
Oh, there's tons of people.
Councilman.
But if you could have a decibel level established and someone maintain that decibel level, whereas now, I don't know how you want to do it with like admissions to the Briar Point. I'm a Coventry resident. I'm ex-military. I live right on a lake. I don't have to go to Briar Point, but some of my neighbors would. They might happen to be ex-military. They pay taxes into the town of Coventry. They should have a reduced rate. Other than that, I don't know if you can actually do it, say just Kent County, another fee, out-of-town residents, a separate fee. Because Coventry taxpayers are funding part of that. I don't think they should be paying the same thing as if someone's coming from Cranston or West Warwick. I don't see it. I don't see the fairness in it.
So I think I would say, I don't really need you to prove to me that it's loud. I don't need you to prove to me there's a lot of people there. I believe you that there are a lot of people going to these beaches on the weekends. The weather's been gorgeous. It's an open beach. You
Well, it's a
do things that you're
free-for-all.
not allowed to do at a state beach or a beach that does have this sort of staffing. But I do wonder, because it is our beach, and you might know the answer to this. There is a maximum capacity that's allowable by the fire department, but can we choose to make it lower? And I don't think this can all be done this summer. I'm just saying, as we think for the future, you know, is there a maximum number of cars that make sense in that parking lot? Like, is it really meant for 120 cars, even if it's allowable by the fire department? So I'd like to look into that sort of thing as we're looking to maintain this beach better. You know, I also know I've paid a lot of money to go to a state beach and they don't let you do anything. So if we are going to get lifeguards, if we are going to get someone to maintain it, you can't bring a radio. Like, there are certain things I think that can be done to make it so that if you want to go and enjoy your day at the beach and swim according to the rules, go for it. But are there ways we can minimize the impact? It is going to have an impact on the town, on the surrounding area, if we're going to keep the beach open. So if keeping the beach open is kind of part of the discussion that we're having right now, I think we just have to put the roadblocks in, you know, in place to say, this is how many people we allow at this beach. This is what we think the area surrounding it can maintain. And this is the rules for coming to this beach. Once we have people there, I think not going beyond the buoys will be a sensible or part of the rules there. We can then enforce. But what are some other enforceable rules we might be able to put forth? When something is, you know, you go to most state beach, they're not in the middle of a residential area for the most part. And we do want to make it so, whether it's country music or whatever music people are listening to, it's within, and like I said, maybe you just say, you can't bring your radio to the beach. You can come, you can play. There is going to be loudness. There are going to be kids playing. There are going to be people laughing. There is going to be
even if you
noise.
set a
But
decibel level, that would be
understanding,
fine.
I think there are decibel levels. I think what probably the problem is, and that might be what the chief is speaking to, is those decibel levels are loud. And usually there's a time
Dated based on the new speaker
ordinance,
tech.
right? Like, we'd probably want to look at what is the decibel level that's allowable and something that we can actually enforce. So
I hate the stereotype, but
don't
like, if-
stereotype. I'm going to ask you, please,
Yeah.
just
No,
don't then.
If Lisa
but you don't
counted 97
have to.
cars, right? And these people are coming from out of town, there's not two people in the car.
So
So you're not regulating the mandate
Sure.
of 228.
and
max
maybe we're not, but
capacity.
no one's discussed that. I think there's a
Okay,
lot of people on
alright.
the beach. What we have to do is say, how many cars really are a good amount of cars that this neighborhood can sustain if everyone had to leave quickly?
Right.
And what are the number of people that we think we can keep at the beach? And are we allowed to go below that fire department? So looking into those sorts of things, like not just what do we want to do, what are we allowed to do in order to put the guardrails on how people can utilize the beach? So I think there's a lot of research to do. I think our first step is getting the company, and probably those companies, if we were to get one to answer the RFP, might be able to help us with a lot of these as far as what we can do in order to maintain a little more control over the area.
So realistically, we're looking at next summer. You could say it.
Just to bounce off of your question, the fire department's gonna calculate that number, and you're basically looking at like a capacity sheet, what's on the back of the chambers right there, just what the maximum number is based on the points of egress and the way the lay of land is. I mean, it's really a question for legal. Are you able to make a policy on capacity at that point below that? Because the fire department says that's a max capacity. And that number is not really malleable. It's not subjective. It's what it is based on math calculations. Yeah, well, that would be you have to have somebody counting. I mean, that's just that's something that has to happen. I mean, that's the same thing when you go to a parking lot for an event, says a lot's full. Somebody's counting those vehicles, they're counting the people. That's a common thing, but that comes with staffing it, which we're doing starting on Monday, so.
To John's point, yeah, so there's a capacity. But did they take into account that this capacity, if there's 130 cars, there's 15 people in each car, and now they all have, I'm being facetious, and they all have their own, can I date myself, boombox? And so now it's even going louder and louder and louder. So I think that we should be able to change our capacity of a parking lot because it's talking about how people can come and go with their vehicles in a safe way, not with all the other added stuff that compounds it.
Yes. Just state your name and address for the record. Make sure the microphone's on. I don't think it's on. Just flip it up.
Apologize. My name's Gordon Davignon. I have two properties in Coventry, 188 Hickory Road and one on 27 Harrington Road, which is approximately less than 1,000 feet from Briar Point. I rent out that home and my tenant was here this evening. I happen to be over that property quite a bit on the last few weekends and commenting to him, is the music always this loud? He said, always. I said, something has to be done about this. And right after that, I'm also a member of the Tioga Lake Association, and that's when emails were going back and forth. And I brought it to his attention that, yes, things are being addressed. One, I'm a professional musician. I've been a professional musician my whole life. I'm a drummer. I've traveled around the world playing music, a lot of rock and roll. I know what loud music is. Matter of fact, I have a dB meter here. I don't know if you're familiar with what a dB meter is, but it measures sound pressure. The farther you're away from something, the less the sound pressure will be. Okay. I was registering between 100 and 110 dBs from my property. 110 is a pneumatic hammer. 120 is a jet plane taking off. That's how loud it was. Now, I'm very discerning about music. It wasn't multiple sound sources that were there. It seemed like there was one car that had a high-powered sound system with really heavy-duty bass. Low end, that bass will travel very far. And it got to the point where this one person was the entertainment center, but it seemed like for the whole beach. It wasn't many boom boxes, as you had said. It was just one music source that was there. People, as you can see, are extremely aggravated. There's one thing that I would like to ask the chief of police: are there dB meters that are in the police cars? Because everyone would have an opinion of what is loud and what is quiet. There has to be a way of measuring what is an acceptable sound pressure level. One person can't say, oh, this is quiet and this one is loud, because depending on how your hearing is. I happen to have a problem with hearing, and so what it would be loud to me would be extremely loud to me with someone that doesn't have the hearing problems. The problem here is I've been a resident of this town for 65 years. My parents bought the house, I'm sorry, since 1966. I have never experienced this type of problem as much as as is happening now. And as a town council, I think you folks really need to address this.
When you say address this, you're basically asking to close the beach, essentially.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Is there?
No,
let me-
no,
let me
that's not what I'm
rephrase
saying.
this.
Okay,
Let
that's
me-
not what I'm saying at all.
Let me.
What I'm saying is to be able to regulate it. I don't care if there's 200 people at the beach, as long as they are not encroaching on the quietness of other people
Okay.
in the neighborhood.
That's what
I mean, if these people were your next door neighbors, you'd be complaining too.
Sure.
I
I'm
don't
just trying
care
to
if
get a sense
if they're
of.
having fun in the water. That's what the water is for.
Thank you. I'm
Okay?
just trying to get a sense of the expectation of residents when they say this needs to be addressed, because I've heard from some close it, and others, it's been unclear. So I
My opinion is that there's a lot of people that are going there that are not respecting the quietness of the neighborhood.
Okay.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Vice President Lang.
Police Chief, I'm sorry. I might have a clarifying question for you. Subsection 169-7 talks about maximum permissible sound levels. It actually brings up section A, it says residential and open space, which I'm presuming that this is what that would be. And it says DBA of 65. So if he's registering 110, can you just help me understand if a resident was to call the police department and saying that there's noise, which I think there's been many of those calls, would an officer have the ability to measure that level? And what would you do if it was over 65? Could you help me understand that?
So we do have sound meters. We would go to the real property boundary where it's happening at, the source. We'd measure it from that location. If it met the thresholds for the time, the 15 minutes or whatever, then we would enforce it at that point.
Okay, this is at all times. So can you help me understand what at all times? So to me, the way that I read that.
I believe is that, but it's also duration. You look, there's duration for it.
I'm not seeing a duration here, but yeah, it's only giving me the DBA of 65. I don't see a duration.
Because you can't have just a spike of 65. That's I believe it says something.
Gotcha. Maybe it's not in that section. Maybe it's in a different section, but I don't see any time. But I guess, did you answer? Would you issue a ticket to the person?
So generally, a violation of sound, you would issue them a warning first, and then if it continues, then you would issue a violation.
Got it.
after that.
Got it. Okay.
It's listed at the very bottom that will tell you, talks about procedure, generally what we do for like violation of sound ordinance.
Understood. Sorry, I don't know this by heart. I'm just trying to understand. But you're saying every officer has
Have one sound meter, they're expensive. We'd go out to, if it was that call we had to respond to, we'd bring it out to that location.
okay. And has any officer brought that device on any of these calls?
We have, yes.
Okay, and it hasn't been higher than 65.
The times it went there, it was not.
Got it. Okay.
But the
I
other
appreciate the clarity.
The other problem is inside the park itself, it talks about real property boundaries and things like that. It specifies vehicles, but if it's coming from a sound system like a boom box or something like that, the ordinance doesn't necessarily address that. That's some of the things we need to clarify.
Okay, thank you.
That's good.
One thing I noticed is throughout it, because I went there today and I took pictures of all the signage that was at the park. There was nothing there, and I spoke to Rainer about this. You should put something up there that there should be a reasonable sound level to let the people know that, you know, that's what they're looking at here.
Mhm. That's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. Councilman Pasquale's hand was up first. That's okay.
So, another, I guess, question on the solicitor side, are we able to make a policy that's maybe not an ordinance or some type of park and rec policy that says no vehicle mounted sound systems to be used? You can use Bluetooth speakers, you can use stuff that you can, portable that are not tied into a power source that's, a vehicle power source or a generator, something along those lines that, just kind of limit the type of sound devices that are being used. And also on the decibel meter side, I just put one on my phone. I mean, just in this room right here, we're like 65. So if you're measuring some of the source, there shouldn't be that much noise out in the neighborhood.
Well, this is obviously the first that I've heard of this. And that's because I'm covering for the pharmacist. I don't know if he was aware of this, but I don't think it'll be a policy. I think you would need to amend an ordinance. And I think it sounds to me, and I'm just hearing this for the first time, you might want to make an ordinance specific to this beach. And you might want to make it a lower decibel level, and you may want to say no amplified music, period. And that takes care of any kind of amplification. Those are two things that jump out at me. And then you can limit capacity is change the size of the lot. What's available for parking?
Yeah, I mean,
Instead of asking what's the maximum amount of parking that your property allows, change your property configuration to reduce the size of the lot.
yeah, that's a
I mean,
good
so if you
idea.
want to reduce size, that reduces size. And then the other thing you can do, many towns have residential parking stickers or parking on roads only. So you would have, it could either be no parking or just residential parking with stickers. So nobody that's not a resident can park on the road. And then the parking lot is limited to, instead of 97 cars, you make a parking lot of 50 cars. I'm making this up as we go along, and that's the maximum available cars that are available for residents and non-residents. They don't
Yeah.
have a sticker. I mean, those are the kinds of mechanical pieces I think you change the capacity, make an ordinance for this particular location, taking into consideration the surrounding neighborhood.
I would.
Those are just thoughts. Obviously, I don't want people to believe that this is a Hanson solution. It's just some thoughts for you to think about. But I think that would be the way to approach it on sound limitation, size limitation, and then parking limitation.
Yeah, I would probably be more in favor of a townwide ordinance, just because I think
Yeah.
we're gonna have more recreational, we will have more recreational opportunities available to the public in the near
Yes.
future with other bodies of water. So I think we're learning lessons right now with this. And in the time that we're taking to fix this problem, and we will fix it, we also should employ those same things on our new venture ahead of us. But, you know, limiting parking's a good idea. Just, I mean, as we know now, it takes one vehicle to make all that noise. So probably something along a non-amplified. It's a great suggestion, something that's not got a power source to it.
I'm fine with asking for even a special meeting for the first reading of a revised noise ordinance to take care of this, and then make sure that this gets done. So I'm absolutely in favor of that to help our police department be able to better enforce the noise issue. Absolutely. Councilman Capaldi.
I remember the shake. I can't believe that's you. I mean, I haven't seen you in 50 years. I know, I'm Justin's twin sister. To the chief, when you guys come with your what is it, decibel meter or whatever, do you think that the cars and your uniforms, the people are turning it down? So when you get there, right, that's what I figured.
Well, then that means when the police come back, they issue the ticket.
True. Yeah. Oh,
That's
God.
why I was suggesting not vehicle mounted systems.
Right. Before, you mean this coming weekend? We have open meetings laws we have to abide by. We have to post something within 48 hours. The legal team needs to draft it with the police department. And I don't think we'd be this week based on public open meetings laws. Yeah. Yeah, I understand. We can't go too much more into this topic because it violate open meetings laws, just because it's not, the ordinance is not on our agenda. I just want to be clear about that. Okay, we have some hands up on Zoom. Unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
This is Jerry Narkowitz, not Lisa Narkowitz. I'm on her computer. So I've listened to everything I could tonight. As I sit here, I was not able to be at the meeting tonight, so I apologize for that. I'd rather be there in person. I want to let Dan know that, Dan, on one particular day, it's recorded that I called once. I called 3 times. So somehow that's getting lost in the shuffle of being recorded. And I do know of other people who have called, and they're also not getting recorded that they called the police department. So I'm not exactly sure where you're getting your information, but I think you should check into that because it's definitely lacking. I want to make sure that I reiterate the music at the beach. It is unbelievable. I don't know if it's 110 decibels, like the last individual just stated, but it is so loud that at times it is very difficult to have a conversation in my yard, which is about 1,000 yards away, which is a long distance. The trash that's left there, if Rainier is picking it up Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, not even close to acceptable. If you saw those trash cans, and the people try to do a good job, a lot of them, and put trash near the trash cans, there is so much trash left all over the place. There are so many times when I've been there that people are drinking and smoking. It doesn't matter smoking what, it's all against the rules. And as far as the beach not having a lifeguard and people swimming outside of the ropes all the time, I've had many people say to me, I'm so worried that I'm going to hit somebody out there swimming towards what we call belly button rock. It continues to be very disturbing as a resident, and more disturbing this year than past. I've looked at the regulations for Oakland Beach, for North Kingstown Town Beach, and if you go and look at those, you'll see it's very reasonable fees for people to go there, whether it's seniors, military, whether it's residents, or non-residents for that matter. So maybe you ought to look at those and model after that. And the last thing is, I'm the one who counted the 97 cars. And I went through on my bicycle and I counted them. And I did a really good job. So if you're telling me I missed a car or two, I can accept that. But if you're telling me that I didn't catch 97 cars, you'd be mistaken. And lastly, there is no parking signs on the right side of the entrance right of way. There are plenty of cars parked right there because there is nowhere else to park in that lot. My guess is that lot has parking for about 60 cars. And 97, you'd have to see where they were all parked, double parked, up on the grass, definitely outside of the parking area. If you're not seeing that, then that's just not being recorded. I'm not sure if you all have anything to say to me.
Nope. Again, there wasn't a dispute about the number of cars. The dispute was with respect to the comment that 90 some odd % of them were not Coventry residents. That was all. There was no dispute about quantity.
It wasn't, I don't think it was said that way, Hillary. I think
The
it was
email
said,
that we were sent on July 16th said exactly that verbatim.
I can't refute that. I don't have that email in front of me. I'm telling you that at one point in time, a police officer did look over the cars that were there, and it wasn't on July 16th. It was much earlier. And he said, wow, there's one car here from Coventry. Where they all came from, I don't know, but they weren't from Coventry. You've heard plenty of people speak. I'm sure many of you have read the letters. We get copies of some of them at the association. As the president of the association, I'm really involved in it. And, people are very frustrated. And this is, like my wife said, year 5. And this year is the worst. I have to assume some of that is because Lincoln Woods is now charging, Oakland Beach is now charging. There's, as far as I know, there are no free beaches anywhere except for Tioga in the state of Rhode Island. I'm not verifying that. I won't say I absolutely know that for sure, but the big ones have started to charge, maybe to avoid some of what's going on for us. Hillary, I'm having a very hard time hearing you. Your mic must not be on.
No, I think, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, there is intent to staff. There is intent to have this manned. There's intent to have it so people have to pay to get in, whether it's Coventry residents are free or reduced or whatever it may be. There's a sentiment up here by this entire council that we want that. That there's no one's disputed that. So that is absolutely the plan. So I just want to make that clear again.
Well, like my wife said, year 5 of this and this being the worst. It's just unbelievable. If you were living there, one of my friends has a little baby and she says, I can't even have the baby go to sleep. The noise is so loud, it rattles my windows. You can only imagine what that must be like for a young mother.
I go through this as well. Behind my house is a public basketball court and a public baseball field.
Yep.
So I'm very well aware of what it means to have someone pull up like that and right abutting my backyard. So I absolutely understand. I'm not saying that we're in the same situation, but I'm telling you I'm familiar with having property abut public property like that.
Right. And I'll leave you with one last thing. There were lots of people who are going to show up tonight or try to show up. I don't know if they have. I can't see the audience by your camera. But, it's hard for some people to get there. And Zoom really helps. But if you're going to cut off somebody saying what they feel is so important to say, like that last individual who talked about the 120 decibels, he absolutely knows his business. The guy's been in music all his life. And for him to say...
We allowed him to speak, Jerry. I
know
just
you did.
can't have people calling out in the middle of the meeting. We have designated public
got that.
comment periods, and we allowed everyone who's wanted to say their piece on this issue to say their piece. So I
got that.
resent the comment that I cut people off and didn't allow them to speak. That's not true.
Hillary, I did not say that. I said if there are people there that we're not going to be able to speak because of the longevity of the meeting, that would be awful. And that's what I'm saying. And I don't know if there are people there, or I don't know if there are other people on Zoom right now that are waiting to speak. So I implore you to listen to everybody who has a statement. I would love to see all the people who call us respond to this, but I know some people won't. Like having the police show up to my house and question me about, was it me who made the complaint about noise? Maybe people don't want that to happen to them.
Thank you. We have another hand up on Zoom. Councilman Pasqua.
Question
is-
for the police chief.
I thought I was going to be able to speak.
Let me just
One moment, please.
ask one quick question, then hop right back in. Chief Heiss, what is your inventory of decibel meters? Are they in every vehicle? Do you have to call it a special cruiser that has it? Are they portable? Like, what exactly is the situation? Okay, I must have missed that.
We just have the
Just have the one. Okay, so I don't think they're fairly expensive. I mean, can we?
I thought they're $700.
Okay, all right. So I wonder if maybe
They have to be certified.
I gotcha. Yep, I gotcha. So I mean, I'm just kind of thinking outside the box because we have an ordinance in place, and it's fairly strict if it's talking about 65 decibels at the source. I mean, do we outfit that area car with that meter and tell them to check on it twice a day or something? Or do we give that meter or not maybe a law enforcement grade meter, but maybe a decibel meter that you could pick up almost anywhere to our new attendant and say, if the noise gets over a certain level, mark it down, call the police so they can document with their official law enforcement meter.
I just don't think that we'll be able to use that in prosecution for a ticket. If it's not a certified operator from the police department.
Yeah, no, I get that. I
Yeah.
get that. But I'm thinking maybe it's just an avenue to activate them to bring in their equipment and say, hey, listen, we're here, we're at the shack. We've got decibel levels of 120. Ordinance is 65. Can you come and officially meter it with your equipment so we can move forward with enforcement?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's something we can do now. We
Yeah.
don't even
I think
really.
the problem is, like one of the residents said, that once the police show up, they turn it down so that officer's not able to get a reading. And then when the officer leaves, they jack it back up.
Can a plainclothes cop come?
So we have officers checking on it. If we knew what was going to happen, to get someone change the clothes and go there, then we could probably do it. Depends on when it's happening and
And Chief, don't take this as, I personally feel like, you guys aren't doing what you got to do. I'm just trying to think of, maybe ways to just change an operation and be more efficient. We only got 1 meter. It's tough. I get it. That's, maybe we need another one, maybe that's part of the solution.
And also, I think
Give
it's,
them the
it's,
tools
I
they
think it's availability of officers. I mean, there's what, 4 offices in the whole town on 4 or 5. So I mean, obviously there are other priority calls for service. So I know they are going down there. They are initiating the contact with the proactive patrolling. It's a difficult situation that we're looking to. The best situation is to man it, not even need the police. So have the actual facility manned, monitored, so none of these problems happen.
Which is Monday.
Which is the IFB. If someone had answered that IFB, we would have lifeguards, we'd have parking attendants, we'd have fees coming in, we would have all of that, but we just don't have the resource right now.
Gotcha.
Does a police officer have to hold the decibel meter? Could we give it to the guy that's going to be working there? And then he documents it. It is what it is, and then calls you guys to give a warning?
Testify in it, goes to court.
Just for the warning?
No, not for the warning, but in order to, if you're going to issue a summons, you need to do that. The attendant's only going to be there from like 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. to lock the gate up. He's not going to be there all day Saturday and all day Sunday. He's going to open the gate and then close the gate. So he's not there the entire day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Narkowitz, please state your name and address for the record and unmute yourself.
Lisa Narkowitz, 21 Beach Street. Councilwoman Capaldi, you said you had never seen a video. Is that true?
Am I, are you, is it a jury? It's true. I have never seen a video.
I'm just asking because multiple videos have been sent to the councilwoman from our district, Hillary Lima, and to the town manager.
Was I supposed to, did I have to forward it to you?
Was this recently? Because I never received
Yes, it was
one.
recently.
I
Absolutely.
did not see one, Lisa. I've never seen the video.
All I'm at, so obviously the information hasn't been shared with the council. That's all I'm asking. The video was
Ms. Narkowitz, we cannot discuss the business amongst council members. That's an open meetings violation.
I
So
understand.
no, I did not
that.
forward
I
it to her.
understand that, Councilwoman Lima. I understand it. So what is the best way to share that with all the council members?
Could
So
email the
going,
whole council.
but we can't do that because
Yes,
that
you
goes
can.
against-
We as council members cannot reply back to you all together, but you're allowed to share something to the entire council. Yes.
Very good. Thank you. That's good information to know going forward.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, just state your name and address for the record. Make sure the microphone is on.
Hi, hello. My name is Kevin Prout on Beach Street, 23 Beach Street, and I won't rehash any of the information. A lot of good things. I'm very positive. Hearing the things that you're going to do sounds great. Going to be positive. I want to thank the police for absolutely being wonderful. Every time we've called, they've been there. They've alleviated the issue, but it just isn't their job. So yes, we need to staff the place and get it done. I was the one that sent a letter recently to Mr. Parrillo saying, yes, it has gotten better because they're there all the time. The other day, an officer was right down to the edge of the water. Get out of the water. You have time to go right now. That's great, but it's not their job. I've been there 38 years, neighbors with the Narkowitzes, and it's never been like this. And I got to say, from my perspective, typically, if it isn't all these out-of-towners that are coming down, there's really only 4 or 5 people there on a typical day. Even Saturday, there might be 20 people. I gotta say, I honestly feel, I was a building contractor for 30 years, managed shopping centers around New England earlier, that the RFP is not gonna be successful because you're not gonna have the kind of income that you're looking for to take care of lifeguards, people that take care of the bathrooms, to collect tickets. It's gonna be a money-losing situation. So think about staffing it a lot sooner than wasting time about the RFP because that's just not going to work. Typically, day like today, of course, it's rain, but even on a sunny midweek day, there's going to be 5 people there, maybe 10 people there. It's not going to work. So
Yeah, as the Parks and Rec director said earlier in the meeting, we're gonna issue the RFP in October.
Yep.
And if we don't hear by December when she needs to make her budget, then that's when the council needs to make a decision about staffing it internally and making the $50,000 plus investment
That's
to do
great.
so.
personally, I feel very good about this meeting tonight. So I want to thank you all.
So you think the staffing is more important on weekends when the capacity is
Yeah.
higher?
You know, a day like today, it's self-regulating.
Yeah.
There's nobody there. A day, you know, a nice day that isn't rainy like today. There's really half dozen people up till 3 or 4 o'clock. People are getting out of work. They're racing down that street, Briar Point Street, at 40 miles an hour, coming down my street. My mailbox has been knocked over 9 times in the years I've been here because I live on Beach Street and people are looking for the beach. I'm at the dead end. I've had drunk drivers driving through my yard, kids doing donuts on the end of the point. Yeah, it's horrible, but that's my problem. I'll deal with that. I've just put up a sign directing traffic at the corner of West Shore and Beach Street, beach access this way, because they're always coming down to my house and turning around in my driveway. You know, that's gotten really, really tired. But no, it's really the weekends in the afternoon from 4 o'clock on becomes really bad. And I just want to say for Lisa Narkowitz, she's pretty upset because her daughter was just married on Saturday and it was ridiculous the way it was at the park. She had an outdoor wedding for her daughter at her daughter's house right next door. And it really disrupted the party. And she was upset about it. So take it with a grain of salt. She was upset. We're all very upset. So thank you for your time.
Last call, public comment. Going once, twice, 3 times. Public comment is now closed. We'll now entertain a motion to adjourn at 9:09 PM.
Make the motion.
Motion by Vice President Blank.
Second.
Second by Councilman Baldi. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. We stand adjourned.